It was bad, but I was doing okay. It had been bad, but it was gonna be okay. And now it's worse. And now I'm not sure. And I think we're gonna have a good, bummerific show here today. The show, in fact, is everything else. I'm Joshua Brisco. It's brought to you by KC Cannabis Company. I genuinely appreciate you tuning in today. If you're live on the KCSN YouTube channel, perhaps participating in the chat, let's get some "This Sucks" in the chat. We'll feel better together. Or if you're listening on the podcast feed later on, I really do appreciate you tuning in for what ends up feeling a little bit like a funeral. Not, in the most serious of senses, but the 2025 season, I was ready to eulogize that. I felt okay. Not good, not happy, not content, still disappointed. But I felt okay about the idea of closing this year's chapter on this show today. And then Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL extremely late in a game that, by that point, barely mattered. I want to talk about the Mahomes side of it all. I think we're going to spend probably the majority of this show talking about this, but this was the one thing that needed to not happen for me to get to where I wanted to get regarding the Zen acceptance of this year. So if you, this might make you feel better, it might make you feel worse. I don't know. I think it makes me feel better, but this is where I started. All of this was true until like roughly 2 minutes left in the game. I was okay with putting this season to rest today. As the noon slate rolled on, all of the other games that needed to go a certain way to eliminate the Chiefs from playoff contention officially, all three of those things happened. All three of those games went in the way that hurt the Chiefs' playoff chances. And then even as Mahomes was still on the field, driving down to try to tie it up, take the lead, win the game, go to overtime, even then, it was relatively evident that, this is a team that is currently struggling through the Chargers. Even with a borderline miraculous victory here, it would have been hard for me to sit down and say, all right, Chiefs beat the Chargers 20-16. And, it was 13-3 with, seconds left in the first half, but this team's making a playoff run. That wasn't going to happen with all the information that we have. And I just kind of got to a point where it's like, okay, this is just the season that it was. Disappointing, underwhelming, frustrating. And frankly, for me, I don't think I love the parlance of saying, hey, just a play or two here or there, just a tick away here or there. And I'm not picking on Andy Reid for coach speak. I mean this really from an evaluation standpoint. I think if you say, yeah, we, the Kansas City Chiefs, 6-8 with Patrick Mahomes, we were just a play or two away, just a game or two away. That's more true for the Miami Dolphins right now than it is for the Chiefs. The Dolphins lost Tyreek Hill, and they're 6-7 still. We'll see if that changes tonight, I guess. The Ravens are a play away. The Colts lost their quarterback and almost won with a grandpa. The Lions, who have been the class of the NFC right now, they're just a tick away. The Carolina Panthers, just a play away. The Cowboys, just a couple plays away. You see what I mean? The middle class of the NFL is just a couple plays away. In fact, I could probably flip it on its head and say the Chicago Bears are a few plays away from being where the Lions are, the 8 seed in the NFC. Instead, the Bears are sitting there as the 2 seed, and good for them. They made those plays. there can be truth to the fine line nature of the NFL. There is truth that the margins are so thin. That's real. And I don't mind the head coach saying that at the podium over the course of the season. Because over the course of the season, what else are you going to do? You go out there, you steady the ship, and you keep playing your games. I'm totally fine with that being Andy Reid's in-season mantra. That should not be Brett Veach's off-season mantra. You just have to treat this as if you are not plays away, but players away. But that's what we'd be talking about today if the worst thing hadn't happened. And we'll still do some more of the rebuild, refurbish, reload, remodel. We'll do some of that talk, probably more with Tucker midway through the show. But I had found the piece because you have to be absolutely remarkable, nearly immaculate, to outrun the entropy that is at the core of the NFL. It is structurally built to be this way. Good players get paid. In a salary cap sport, usually they get paid elsewhere. The Kansas City Chiefs deserve a ton of credit for discovering and developing Tershawn Wharton, who is now a Carolina Panther, because they had the money to pay him this offseason. That's the salary capped league. The best teams get the worst draft positions because you want the Tennessee Titans to get better, and you want the NFL, the Eagles and Chiefs, and at times the 49ers. You want those teams to, if not take a step down, you don't want them to separate themselves from the rest of the league. Because then you end up with, no one's happy about the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. Obviously, that's money, a non-cap sport, and all of that. But you have to be remarkable to overcome the intrinsic factors that try to create parity in the NFL. And I think it's the reason it's my favorite American sport. I mean, it's my favorite sport anywhere. I'm just narrowing it to America, I guess, because it's an American sport. It's my favorite team sport. It's my favorite sport to talk about. I love this football team, and I love this league, because even when it's bad, you're 2 good draft classes away from contending. But they weren't remarkable this year. Anywhere, really. Roster construction, coaching, execution. The Chiefs were not nearly perfect enough this year to overcome the structure that points towards parity. Incredible run, disappointing season, due, if not overdue, for a refresh. That was today's show with 2 minutes left in the game. The only thing that truly and simply could not happen was a serious long-term injury to Patrick Mahomes that would put his 2026 into question. I am not an expert. I really do appreciate the question from Jackie earlier. Let me see if I can get the specifics, because all of the acronyms really highlight for me what I was not going to be able to do while I will not be taking this question. Jackie says, can you talk us through the different types of knee injuries? Where does ACL land on the list? Worse than MCL, PCL, LCL? Last year, Rice had the LCL plus. Is it worse than that? Truthfully, Jackie, I won't answer that question. The question was, can you talk us through the different type of knee injuries? And the answer, unfortunately, is no. I am sports injury literate enough to know what the big ones are, what the bad ones are. And frankly, I think at this point, maybe Achilles ends up having an even longer recovery time, considering just maybe I just watched Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, and certainly those are older quarterbacks as well. What I do feel somewhat confident, and I think pretty consistently, you're talking about a 9-ish to 12-ish month recovery for an ACL. It seems to me like, even, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. I don't want to put this expectation on Patrick Mahomes because I think it's genuinely unfair, but we have seen him recover from injuries unbelievably quickly. We have seen him sprint through rehab and recovery processes in a way that makes him seem superhuman. But Being ultra competitive does not make your ACL heal more quickly. Tom Brady got hurt very, very early in that season, and if he would have gotten injured in December, I don't think we were going to see him in training camp just because he was Tom bleeping Brady. Anything less than this would have felt fine today. Oh, man, bummer not to have any more Patrick Mahomes out there. Maybe, as Kent Swanson pointed out on Twitter, it hadn't even crossed my mind at the time. Maybe you saw a very unceremonious end of Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce. We may have seen that for the last time. Maybe not. Maybe Kelce returns. But now you're asking Travis Kelce if he wants to come back and maybe start the season with Gardner Minshew, a new quarterback from somewhere else. Minshew's not under contract next year. These are things we'll figure out later. This is like patellar tendons, which is the Josh Simmons thing. So this is what I'll say. I'm not gonna play physical therapist or anything like that. I think Tucker can tease something later, or I'll let him do it in his own time. But it's serious. It's about as serious as it gets. It's not the like Teddy Bridgewater horrible thing you hear the stories about of, all the stuff in the knee. So theoretically, it could be worse. But this was the one thing on the look back of this season. And for the perspective after the offseason, this was the one thing you just couldn't have happen. I don't really blame anybody. It wasn't an actually meaningless game. It was maybe trending that direction, but Patrick Mahomes is going to compete with air in his lungs. I have no vitriol. But I have heard 6 words echoing in my head much of this morning and a little bit of last night. Words that I heard Chris Jones say, I think on Thursday, I believe. Words that you've heard Brett Veach say. Words that you've heard Travis Kelce say. 6 words. As long as we have Pat, the playoffs are still in play. The team can be good enough. The Super Bowl window is open. We're never out of a game. As long as we have Pat. And now you don't. Not just for the rest of this year. Again, the rest of this year's over. I will say here in the utmost honesty, I want the best for all the Chiefs players. I know the coaches are going to do their best the rest of the way. I know Creed Humphrey talked after the game about, we're going to go out there and keep trying to win football games because it's what we do. It's our job. We got a job to do. I respect that utterly, completely. I really, really do. I'm good with 3 preseason games to end this year. I really am. Travis Kelce has every right to decide how he wants to go. If this is it for him and he wants to try to get to 1,000 yards or anything, totally up to him. Totally his call. Xavier Worthy, go get your surgeries, man. You've toughed it out this year. I respect that. We're good. Chris Jones, an injury of his own yesterday. You have played so much extra football, and we're going to need you. Or maybe there's a trade discussion to be had this offseason. I don't know. I'm really not there yet, honestly. I'm not there for the big moves, and I don't know that the Mahomes injury changes a ton of things. I think it might change a few things. But Chris, you've played an extra season of playoff games for free here. Not for free, you know what I mean. You've played an extra season of games in the postseason. Start this offseason early. Mentally, physically. If you need to go get something cleaned up, go get it cleaned up. If you just need to go lay on the couch and gain 10 pounds in January and then get it off before you get back to training camp, do it. The only thing the Chiefs have to win for right now is losing draft positioning. I don't care about the winning season streak. I cared deeply about the AFC Championship game streak, the Super Bowl streak, the postseason streak, the AFC West streak. It wasn't your year. Please be smart the rest of the way. Not just because I'm worried that Trent McDuffie's going to and again, Trent McDuffie didn't play in this game against the Chargers because of his knee injury the week prior. I don't want credit for this because it stinks. But I'm going to mention it, and then Tucker can validate my receipts later. As the game was going in a poor direction, I was texting like, hey, Mahomes was wearing some weird knee brace thing, heating pad kind of deal on the sideline against the Texans. Go let him get his knee scoped or whatever's going on there. And let's just, if it ends today, if they lose this game, put him on ice. Everybody who is a core to you, whose future is secure. Look, if you're Hunter Norzad and CJ Hansen and Esapole and Chu Godric, Kingsley can keep playing if you want because you're out of lineman and he's young. Play your hearts out and prove that you're an NFL player. Rashard Smith, Jalen Royals, Noel Williams, Jeffrey Bassa. This is your time. You're not getting preseason reps. You're getting reps against starters. Go to town. Jalen Watson is about to hit free agency. For the Chiefs or for somebody else, his health next year is more important than the Chiefs being able to shut down quick. Name 2 Tennessee Titans not named Cam Ward. Oh, God, I don't know if I can. I know the running backs. They've got some receivers in there. I'm going to learn them this week. I don't even think, I'm not even worried about, like, tanking. Whatever. You're playing the Titans and Raiders. I certainly won't blame the Chiefs players who are out there for doing their absolute best. You can't go out there and half-ass a football game. Not physically possible, not physically safe. But I'm not invested in the wins and losses the rest of the way. I am invested in what you can see from the young guys and making sure that your stars get the start on the offseason that they deserve. Coaches too. I don't need Andy Reid drawing extra plays in the month of December on a set of cocktail napkins. Get to the beach early. Go to LA with Tammy and get some R&R for real. Like not a lick of sarcasm anywhere in here. They have some hard decisions to make. The scouting department and Brett Veach probably aren't going to enjoy much of a vacation. But this run has been unbelievable. Nearly completely unprecedented and genuinely, utterly unprecedented for Kansas City Chiefs football. I'm sad today. I don't have a lot of vitriol. Things need to change for next year in meaningful ways across the board. I think we all agree on that by and large. I just don't want to see Trent McDuffie out there with a big chunky knee brace. I just don't need to see that. I don't need to see Xavier Worthy out there anymore when we know that he's not physically right. So it all stinks. And what this means for 2026, I think we'll do some like dynasty talk on Friday probably. We'll do some 2026 talk. And I understand where some of the vitriol is. And like Tyrion mentions here also, like maybe some players are looking for their incentive money. That's a good point. Hadn't even been thinking about that today. If Jay, I don't know who would have incentives. I guess it would almost certainly be guys on second contracts. If there are guys that need to hit incentives, pay them or play them. Just whatever makes more sense. But it'll be more fun in January, February, March, and April if the Chiefs are picking 10th as opposed to 18th or wherever they would move with wins over the Raiders and Titans. And if they win those games, I don't know. So be it. The Raiders and Titans aren't good football teams. Titans had some fight yesterday. The Raiders didn't. But it just puts the future into such a grimy lens. Because back to the Mahomes side of it all. Lots of people do deserve credit for the Chiefs having 3 Super Bowl rings, 2 back-to-back, going to 3 in a row, 7 consecutive AFC Championship games. Plenty of credit is owed. Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Brett Veach, John Dorsey, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. I mean, like, I really could sit here, but we've joked on Only Weird Games about the core 50 or whatever. You can get a long list from Clark Hunt to James Winchester. Shout out James Winchester. Don't mean to put you at the bottom of the org chart. That's not necessarily fair, but, you know, love my long snappers. From Clark Hunt to James Winchester, tons of people deserve credit for what this run has been. No one deserves more of that credit, in my mind, than Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid was a great head coach. Patrick Mahomes made him a bejeweled head coach. And that's a relationship. That goes hand in hand. Mahomes owes a ton to Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. It's a team sport. But now, thinking about, even without, you know, letting McDuffie and Jones sit the rest of the way, which again, like, I think there's literal reason to on multiple levels, for their sake and your own. What would the Chiefs' record have been this year with 17 games at Gardner Minshew? They're 6-8 with Mahomes. This is kind of a bleak exercise, but Giants, maybe they win that game against Russell Wilson. Ravens, probably not. Lions, probably not. Raiders, sure. Commanders, maybe. Marcus Mariota in that game. Colts, no. It's a 3-4 win team without Mahomes. We'll get a little bit of a glimpse of it the next few weeks. Again, with no particular angst or vitriol, this is a team that lives and dies with Patrick Mahomes. I don't even necessarily want to be that way. But this year in particular, imagining this team in this season without him is hard to fathom. By the way, confirmed that Micah Parsons tore his ACL yesterday too. Terrible. Not to literally connect it to that, because I don't need to compare two ACL tears for two of the league's absolute best players. But the Packers could win the Super Bowl without Micah Parsons. I don't think they could without Jordan Love. And Jordan Love is not Patrick Mahomes. And they're probably not going to without Micah Parsons, to be clear. But as Chris Jones is unbelievably valuable, a future Hall of Famer in every sense. Travis Kelce, unbelievably valuable, a future Hall of Famer in the clearest of terms. Mahomes gives you a ceiling and a floor that I don't know if anybody else in the sport gives you. Ever. Brady probably did. Josh Allen currently, I think, has a bit of that. Other great quarterbacks who did something similar, I'm sure. But this entire universe, rightfully, is built around Patrick Mahomes. And this year, that system around the star that is Mahomes, it failed him. Not because of the injury. This is just the unfortunate punctuation. Jackie says Peyton Manning into the playoffs. Yeah, right. Even that's still so weird. I need to go back and look at that again through grown-up eyes and figure out what happened to Peyton in the playoffs. Was that just defense? I don't know. But the offense altogether was not good enough. His wide receivers were not getting open. Nate tweeted out one of the sets of dots on one of the man coverage snaps where just everybody was blanketed. Mahomes had nowhere to go. I think they need to have, again, those wholesale changes that we've talked about on offense. Wholesale might not be the right word. Significant changes offensively to really retool where they go next year. It felt like they've been a step behind for a year or two. Last year was pulling teeth with like injuries and stuff, so I'm still willing to give them credit for that. This year, it felt like the offense was a step behind. So you can iterate and evolve, but this time in training camp in 2026, you're probably looking at another evolution for the league. The Chiefs were a step behind on the fact that defenses kept getting faster and smaller, and some of these teams who have found success this year have gotten bigger and stronger, and so they've been able to push some of those defenses around. The Chiefs are still playing a speed game. I understand. Speed's the most important singular thing in football, in my opinion. It's right there with the physicality of it all. How do you marry that? I think the Chiefs have been a step behind this year, and if you're one step behind, if you're not a step ahead, you are 2 steps behind, because there's always that arms race, always trying to evolve before everybody else. So they need an evolution. The good news is they have the offensive line, like, pretty well set, which is incredible. The pieces are there. I wanted to talk today about why I was seeing a relatively smooth, as I'll say later, remodeling for how this team evolves going in the next year. And now it's just all on hold until you know what's going on with Mahomes. Because if it's Minshew or Russell Wilson, I hadn't thought about that till just now. It just hit me like a sack of bricks. Joe Flacco, Chris Oladokun, Bailey Zappi. None of those guys are building you a Super Bowl winning offense. Maybe one of them keeps the Chiefs' head above water until Mahomes is back and ready to try to make a playoff push, which is kind of where my head's at now. But even if he's able to miraculously be back for week 1, again, you're making these changes in training camp with your Hall of Fame superstar MVP quarterback on the sideline, while Andy's installing not being snide here, while Andy's installing an under center run game. You know who's not running play action snap reps under center in June, July, August? Patrick Mahomes. Just a bummer, man. It's just a bummer. Mahomes has done so unfathomably much for this football team, this city, the organization. And it's just so sad. Not for them to just miss the playoffs, because they could have missed the playoffs and we could have all had fire, brimstone, whatever. How could you fail Mahomes this way, systemically around him? Fair questions. And now we're talking about Mahomes having to go through his own really significant rehab and recovery process before he has any opportunity to lead the way on the evolution that comes next. So, sorry if that doesn't make you feel any better. It's a tough day. Glad this team still has Patrick Mahomes. I hate the idea that it could be 9, 10, 11, 18 months before we see him play football again. 18's on the very, that's the worst case scenario, but just thinking if he's just not available next season, we're waiting until September, or at least training camp of 2027. Again, I don't think that's necessarily where it's going. I don't know. But that's the problem, right? When was the last time you didn't know what Patrick Mahomes was going to do for your football team? And we don't. There's an unassuredness now that is, when you think about it that way, kind of suffocating. Happy Monday, everybody. I really do genuinely appreciate you being here on what is not a fun day, but what I do think is an important day in Kansas City, an important day in the NFL, an important day, of course, in Chiefs football. And like Seamus says, so 2 years of top 10 picks and then a Super Bowl? Maybe. Look, Patrick Mahomes having a chance to add a couple blue chip players around him is still something I can be excited about, but I'll admit, it's very hard on December 15th, 2025 to be excited about the 2027 season. And I will be holding out hope for the recovery process that you assume Mahomes is going to attack like an absolutely rabid dog. but I had come to terms with the loss of the playoff spot. And then that happens. Really tough. As always, I'm also deeply appreciative of our friends over at Kansas City Cannabis. You can check them out online at kccannabis.com, and they've got a special sale going on right now all the way through Christmas Eve. It started on the 13th. It's now the 15th. They've got 12 days of Christmas sales. Every day, a different sale. You can check out their website, kccannabis.com, to get each day's sales and each day's deals that you can shop for and be able to order online if you want, and you can pick them up at any of their 5 KC area locations, or you can go into the store, talk to a bud tender, and figure out what's right for you. They've got KC North, Blue Springs, Kearney, Excelsior, and Lottawanna as those 5 KC area locations. They are local to Kansas City. They are a part of Kansas City. They are truly Kansas City Cannabis. They've been an awesome, awesome partner of ours, and I think you will be very happy with both the product and the people. And right now, the 12 days of Christmas sales at kccannabis.com.
They're great. Thanks, guys.
Some gifts are nice.
Oh, a Swiss Army knife.
Some gifts are thoughtful. And some gifts light up the whole season. Share the joy of Missouri-made quality this season. From December 13th to the 24th, join us for 12 days of cheer.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, Tucker, that on the, well, at least the worst day since the Super Bowl loss, that I talked for 30 minutes while I got through my feelings. How are you feeling here on a pretty bleak Monday?
I think you did a really good job kind of summating, culminating all of the feelings of, yeah, I knew that the playoffs were not going to be a possibility. I knew we had already kind of come to terms with, boy, wouldn't it be quite something if this team ended up making the playoffs? And so at that point, I think it was probably after they lost to, truthfully, the Broncos. After they lost to the Broncos, it was like, okay, this team's probably not going to make the playoffs. And then to have the Patrick Mahomes injury happen on top of that is what I am bummed out most about, right? And I had made a report on my social media that it was official that I was bummed out.
It's a great graphic, by the way. I saved it for my own future uses.
Thank you. Yeah. I wanted to make it in like the eliminated style graphics that they had for all of them. So I just thought a picture of me looking incredibly depressed after. I think I took that picture when Patrick Mahomes threw the interception against the Colts on like the goal line. I think that's when that picture was.
The game they ended up winning. You're right. I think that is when you took it. Yeah.
Live reaction is what I just like looked down, opened my camera, boom. That's what my face looked like when that happened. I need to do that more often, I think. So
couldn't agree more.
The graphic came together pretty well. It came together pretty nicely, and maybe this is just a byproduct of the profession that we have, Josh, is we have done so much nitpicking when it comes to this team. And that's what you have to do with really good football teams. You have to nitpick. If you want to have conversations about them, you have to be nitpicky. And sometimes I think that for some people that comes across as being ungrateful or not appreciating what has happened. While it is our job to talk about this football team professionally, and it is our chosen career path that we have decided to do, this does not yet mean that we are ungrateful for what has happened. We can still be bummed out, yet we can still be very grateful and very thankful for everything that's happened in the Patrick Mahomes era. Now, I think this is an interesting question. I brought this up to Matt Verderam on That Football Show. I asked him a couple bummer questions. I asked him a couple of bummer questions on today's podcast. First one was, did we see the last Mahomes to Kelsey completion ever? And he said no. Spoiler alert. He said no. He thinks that Kelsey comes back next year. And I asked him if the dynasty's over. And that's a tough question to answer at this point because I think it depends on what happens next year or what happens in 2027, right? It's like if they go a couple years where, they make the playoffs next year or they make the playoffs in 2027 but don't necessarily make the Super Bowl, but then they win it in 2028, the dynasty's still there then at that point? You had a couple down years, or is this a new dynasty? Is it a new dynasty? That's the question. But I think that, I don't know if you know this, Josh. Humans are very complex beings.
I've heard.
Very complex beings, and emotions are very complex as well. And you can feel two things at the same time. That's the most important thing that I think that people should recognize in this time. Because I understand people being mad. I get that. You have every right to be upset. Like why Patrick Mahomes. I think that the Patrick Mahomes injury is kind of the peak of the iceberg when it comes down to everything you had to have Patrick Mahomes do for the past 3 seasons in this offense, and this is kind of what it led to, right? This is the point that it led to. That's frustrating. That's maddening. You have the best football player on the planet, and you're making him go out of his mind every single day, every single play, every single game. It's a little bit. Forgive my sports analogies. My sports analogies for Patrick Mahomes will always go back to one person, and it's LeBron James.
I was gonna say it has to be LeBron,
yeah,
right?
It's a little LeBron James in Cleveland type of deal where he was like really good, and like that rookie year 2020 or 2003 is when he was a rookie, and then they made it to the finals, and they're like, wow, this guy's really good. We made it to the finals. We got to the finals with this young guy LeBron James. And he took a bunch of like plumbers and IT salesmen with him to the finals, and they're like, "That's good. We don't need to do anything else. We got LeBron." And it's almost to a little bit of a point here too, where I hope he doesn't end up like LeBron. I think there's so many comparisons and parallels between what has happened to LeBron and his career to like what's going on with Patrick Mahomes right now, because I think there's a little bit of it too is because of the social media aspect of it. I think it's harder to compare Jordan to Mahomes because of the lack of social media. You can definitely see it with the MVP voting. You can see people turning on him so quickly as soon as he found success. You can talk about his ability to just carry a team to Super Bowls and win championships with teams. Now, I understand LeBron had to go to Miami to win his championship, but there's a little bit of a lot of parallels there between these two guys. And well, really for the most part, LeBron has been healthy in terms of like avoiding those major ligament injuries, which is like kind of astonishing because he's in year 23 and he's 41 years old, just dunking on dudes' heads still, which is insane.
This getting bailed out by the fraud refs against the beloved Phoenix Suns who have never done anything wrong.
Right.
That I didn't turn the game on, but my little bit of sports escape. I'm a Phoenix Suns fan. For those of you who are new here, my little bit of sports escapism last night was, the Suns and Lakers are playing. Let's see what's going on there. And then it was a ref show all the way through, and LeBron like chicken winged a ref and didn't get teched for it. And I was so anyway. I'm not ready for basketball either. Apparently, go ahead.
Yeah, my Magic lost to the Knicks, which Matt Verderam's Knicks in the.
Oh God, not helping you guys. The show's in a tough place right now, vibes-wise.
The NBA Cup was not going to feature the Orlando. I had already told a couple of group chats that if the Magic were to win the NBA Cup, I was buying merch, man. I was wearing that proudly. I was like, I'm all in, And I really wanted LeBron to win the NBA Cup too, because like, how funny could it be? Because like, obviously, you guys know that. I'm a very big LeBron guy.
Yeah.
And how funny would it be if like how many NBA Cups does Jordan have?
Jordan never won an NBA Cup.
Jordan never won an NBA Cup. You know who
Scoreboard.
has? LeBron has. LeBron's won an NBA Cup. So that's kind of what I'm cheering for at this point. But yeah, I see Jackie Moon says I could hop on the Thunder bandwagon. I don't know, Josh, how familiar you are with the Thunder. That team's really good.
Yeah, it seems like they're kind of a wagon, and they won it all last year. So too late for me on the bandwagon.
They've lost 2 basketball games all year. It started in October. I didn't realize how good they were. Lob Threat says never heard anyone say my Orlando Magic. Yeah, I think that's
that
fair.
time you start.
That's fair. That's now it's here. Tough day for Jalen Suggs too. Jalen Suggs has a I get hip laceration or what do they call it or something like that? An MRI. Yeah, tough day. But back to Patrick Mahomes. I think that, or no, we were talking about complex feelings, right?
Yes.
Complex feelings is complex beings. And we lost John Cena. Yeah, it was a tough weekend for a lot of people. Lost John Cena.
So far, we've only talked about the sports things that happened this weekend, which is my intention the rest of the show, actually, because I can only handle so much.
Why? What else happened?
Been just bad in the world. World's in a bad place. Bad world right now.
Yeah. Anyway, human beings can feel complex emotions, and I understand people who are mad about the Chiefs' offense and the reliance on Patrick Mahomes of putting the load on his shoulders, as Nate would call it, the burden, right, for Patrick Mahomes to be that offense for the last 3 seasons. He had to be the entire offense for the last 3 seasons. That's not healthy. Absolutely not healthy for any one individual to do that. We saw what happened with LeBron in Cleveland. That's where my point started.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think it's okay to be really bummed out that they missed the playoffs. I think you can be mad and bummed out at the same time. Ready for this? Ready for this curveball, Josh? Ready for this little splitter?
Hit me.
High up and tight. You can also be incredibly thankful for what's happened in this dynasty. All 3 things can be true at the same time. Little high heat for you there. Little chin music. I'm flopping my sports references all back and forth. But I think all 3 of those emotions are okay, are healthy, and you can all feel those all at the same time. We can all do that.
I brought visual aids, in fact.
You did.
As you were breaking that down, people may or may not know this about me. I have arguably too many hats. I have 2 storage bin kind of things on the top of my closet that are filled with what I would call the archive. Either hats I've had for so long that my head got bigger. I have some childhood Wichita State Shockers baseball hats up there. And then I've got kind of hats that I probably got for $10 but didn't really quite fit right if I order them online or just didn't really make it in the rotation. Then I have 2 hanging strips on the back of a door here that include probably 30 more hats that I pretty regularly wear and have in the regular rotation.
The rotation, yeah, I got that.
Then on the inside of that door, I have spots for beanies, which I have lots of. Several that I regularly wear there, like this purple one that I've been wearing a lot lately. Usually it goes over there. Then I have this storage container thing. It's like a footstool.
Yeah.
I put my feet on it.
That's cool.
This is full of beanies. Completely full of yet more stocking caps, toques, if you will. And there are 3 in here that I never thought I would own. And one of them, the most recent one, I actually haven't taken the sticker off of, or haven't taken the tag off of. For the audio audience, these are 3 different years versions of the Chiefs Super Bowl championship beanie with the pom-pom on the top. Because I got the one that I just put on. I got this one the first year because I was just buying anything I could that said Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champions, and I love a beanie. The second one comes, and I go, well, I might as well. I could have.
You already got the first one, you know.
I got the first one,
Yeah.
and my head's too big for any of the official on-field caps.
Yeah.
Not
structure is always weird for me too. I don't like a
Yeah.
low structure. It's got to be a high build hat. Yeah.
Yes, very much so. So that's a real problem for me. So I don't usually buy those. I got one from 2 Super Bowls, the most recent Super Bowl win, and that one I wear because it's old school kind of style and everything. I remember distinctly having serious conversations with a friend of mine at age 13. And I do think that we ended up eventually having the conversation of, do you think the Kansas City Chiefs will ever win a Super Bowl in our lifetimes? And obviously the answer to that was pretty contentious. We eventually ended up having the conversation of do you think the Chiefs will win a playoff game in our lifetimes? And that we're yeah, they'll luck into one eventually. They'll get there eventually. But we may live full lives and perish never seeing a Lombardi trophy come to Kansas City. I am unbelievably grateful, not only to have been able to see that and be here for all of that while living in Kansas City, that's all happening while I get to cover this football team. Well, this is my job. I am unbelievably grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the guys I mentioned earlier. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. everyone who had a hand in making this dynasty happen. I also want those people, and in this instance particularly Patrick Mahomes, to have a chance to keep doing it and to have a chance 100%. To do it in a sustainable way that doesn't require superhero stuff from Patrick Mahomes. And even, again, I know this year has not been a kind year in terms of the coaching and all of the stuff that we've talked about schematically. I want that for Andy Reid. What the Chiefs offense had to do last year, hammered by injury, was brutal. What they had to do in the Buccaneers Super Bowl with no offensive linemen, the challenges that this coaching staff has had, I want them to have an easier time at the office. In this instance, I wouldn't mind the Chiefs losing their next 3 games to end this season, so Brett Veach and the scouting department have a little bit of an easier job reloading this offseason with a higher draft pick. So that I think is where most of us probably end up coming from. Certainly those of us who grew up fans of this team and now find ourselves in the midst of the NFL's modern dynasty. So I really like that point from you. I also do think it is a good reminder that you are allowed to feel all of those things simultaneously. Yeah. If you didn't care about the Chiefs, if you weren't invested in their successes, you wouldn't be mad when they lost. You would not be that sad when Patrick Mahomes got hurt because you didn't really care that much anyway. It happened in the background of your life. If you are invested enough to be here for this show today, it's because you care. And you care enough to buy the merch when they win, and you care enough to be angry and upset and frustrated when they lose and they underperform by their own standards. So that, for me, is the piggybacking on what you laid out there, Tucker. I think it's really excellent stuff. Any other thoughts on that? The only thing that can cheer me up right now, I think, is watching you lift weights while talking about DraftKings. So any other, I don't want to cut you off because I think this is a great topic. I'm glad you brought it.
No, I do think that I think before you're so quick to throw stones at other people for like how they're processing things and be like, oh, all these younger Chiefs fans are just upset about how the season's gone. I think it's very quick to like it's very. People want to maximize this, right? I think you hit that nail on the head. It's like you're upset because you want them to maximize this opportunity. You don't want it to be a one and done. And it hasn't been a one and done, right? Like how can you get more out of these 3 Super Bowl wins? How can you get a 4th? How can you get a 5th? Like that is going to be the whole thing. We all care. We all show things in different ways. I just think that we're all on the same side here, right? I don't think that we should be. We're all process this differently. And it's okay to feel complex emotions in this time. I know it's a very manly sport, and talking about emotions about a manly sport where the ball's not round is not a very top popular thing to do, but I think it's okay to kind of process this.
I think it's beautiful, and I would like to process it while watching you do bear crawls while reading a disclaimer.
Missouri, your moment is finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. Now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more, all from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. Missouri fans know game day. The tailgates, the noise, the passion. Now with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN. New Missouri customers bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code KCSN. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
We're very near the end of today's show here because we've obviously had a lot to talk about and a lot of feelings to feel, which we're allowing here in the chat and in our space today. I think we'll probably do more of the next step stuff on Friday. I do want to do some of the dynasty talk and everything on Friday. But just saw a couple things in the chat that I do think I don't know that we've hit on today that I think is worth mentioning here on this day of reckoning or disappointment or sadness or misery or whatever. I think you can say that this specific era of Chiefs football, this iteration, is probably over. I'm very curious, obviously, about Kelsey, and truthfully, we're not going to be able to know if this era was over or not, probably until Kelsey walks, and whenever that happens will be a pretty good sign of that, I think. But it might be even kind of a fuzzy middle where it's like, okay, you've got a couple years without Kelsey, but with Chris Jones, and then Jones retires a couple years down the line and all of that, and eventually Andy Reid will retire, and then that's obviously going to be a big change and whenever that happens. But I do see, as of right now, I do think this is going to be an interlude in the Chiefs story, because I do still expect Patrick Mahomes to come back and be Patrick Mahomes. I don't know, with such sadness, I don't know if he'll be Patrick Mahomes in 2026. We just don't know. It's the first time I've not known that since 2018. So I don't know what version of him we're going to see next year. Maybe it's really, really close, or just as good as you remember, just as good as you expect. Maybe he doesn't see the field until the season's already basically done. Maybe he gets back early and he's average until he figures out, gets his strength and trust back in his knee. I mean, I'm not predicting any of those paths. I'm saying there are a dozen ways that could go. But ultimately, I think he's going to be Patrick Mahomes, and a functional team with Patrick Mahomes at the center is going to be one of the 2 or 3 most dangerous teams in football every year that Patrick Mahomes is there. And I don't think the Chiefs are incompetent. I think they missed some signs. I think you've had some misses from your decision makers here and there, like has been the case in every organization, and the Chiefs have had too many of them. This year was the consequence of some of that coming to roost. Even that wasn't like, I don't know, they spent a first-round pick that didn't pan out on FAU. That stinks, but it's not. They didn't trade they didn't go. This wasn't the Deshaun Watson trade. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there wasn't a single blunder that was just so foolish from the moment it happened that we all knew it. So you have a few too many flips of the coins that come up tails, and this is where you're at. But I am not in a place where I am thinking like, oh, well, okay, from here on out, they're the Dolphins. Without Patrick Mahomes, I think they're the Dolphins. With Patrick Mahomes, they're the Dolphins with Patrick Mahomes, which would be a Super Bowl favorite. I think my analogy worked. We got there.
Yeah. No, I think it tracks. Yeah, I was actually, as you were going through that, I was doing a mock draft for the Chiefs.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Give us the first everything else. Are you on the clock?
No, it's done and it's money. I give this. Hire me right now.
Run it through. We're gonna end today's show with Tucker's first everything else mock draft, the 2026 NFL draft. Where did we pick first of all?
Round 1, pick 11.
Okay.
Is where I got us. I took running back out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love.
Haven't heard anything about him in the Chiefs to this point, really.
Yeah,
okay, so you watch actual college football. Can I ask you the question I've been curious about asking lots of people so far? You're going to be my first person to answer this.
Okay, yeah.
How good is he? What is your confidence level that translates to the NFL?
Okay.
And will it matter if the offense doesn't change in some meaningful ways?
Very good
3
questions.
genuine questions. I do not watch college football like you guys do.
Yes. All very good questions. Matt Verder and I talk about the question number 3 on the podcast today.
Fantastic. I almost texted the group chat about that this morning, and I decided it was too early for mocks for me.
To answer your number 3 question, I don't know if it really does matter all that much if the offense doesn't change. Jeremiah Love, number 1, is good. He won the Doak Walker Award, which is the best running back in the college football, so he is a good football player.
I knew he was in the Heisman consideration.
Yeah,
I did know that.
He was a Heisman finalist as well.
I don't know why I don't know what makes him an elite prospect.
Well, he's very athletic. Last year, I think he hurdled over a dude. He hurt his ankle and was like, I'm gonna make a rule for myself. I'm not gonna hurdle people because my ankle is hurt. And then
I've made that same rule for myself, actually.
The first play, the first touch he had, he hurdled a dude from Penn State. And it's just like, okay, all right, sick. No, he's an incredible athlete. He's dynamic. He's explosive with the football in his hands, right? He can make things happen. Something we haven't seen as running back position in Kansas City for a very long time. So that's what gets me excited about Jeremiah Love. I think he is a very good talent. He's out of St. Louis. He went to CBC. Mizzou was in the running for him. He ultimately chose Notre Dame. probably a good choice for him.
Worked out, yeah.
It did work out for him. The problem with Notre Dame, and I think the problem with what you see with Ashton Jeanty now, he is on the Raiders, so like you have to adjust for Raiders, right? They don't really have an offensive line. Ashton Jeanty's level of competition in the Mountain West was not the same that you get at like the SEC or the Big Ten, and it's a little kind of the same at Notre Dame. Notre Dame doesn't really play a tough schedule. They get to pick their whole schedule basically. They play a lot of ACC teams, but again, the ACC is not necessarily a loaded conference with a bunch of NFL players playing defense like an SEC running back would be or a Big Ten running back would be. So that is a hesitation with Jeremiah Love, is the level of competition. Maybe you get the Ashton Jeanty thing to a lesser degree where it's not quite a boom, an instantaneous click with him, but I think he's good. There's a lot of good players there. If you're picking at number 11, you got a lot of good players to pick from. There's some edges there. I ended up going with edge at pick number 44 with the Chiefs have. LT Overton out of Alabama. He is very good. I don't know if he fits the Spags type, but he's a good football player.
Will he get the quarterback? Is he fast?
Yeah.
I'll take him.
He made when he played against Missouri, LT Overton had a very good game against two really good tackles that Missouri has. So Missouri has a pretty good offensive line. Their Keegan Trost was just named actually an All-American by the AP, and he made him look not very good. So like LTO. Overton, yeah.
We have two Chiefs defensive ends that we call Lotto now. That's gonna be confusing.
That's gonna be very confusing. I've tried to get Ashton Gelati's Jello Shot nickname to catch on, but it is not working. I keep calling him Jello Shot and just hoping people will be like, "Oh yeah, Jello Shot, that's his name now." You know.
I saw your tweet this morning on my For You page, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And said I think it just said like in all. I think it was just like Jello Shot, and I saw that with no context, and I had no idea what that was about. I didn't know who, what, when, where, or why you tweeted Jello Shot. I'm guessing it was the interception.
Yeah. Did Tucker go to the game and was he at the parking lot at Arrowhead and just tweet out Jello Shot? Yeah.
Jello Shot. Okay, cool.
Round it out here real quick. Jacoby Lane in the third round is what I have. Pick number 75, wide receiver from USC. He's obviously not Mekhi Lemon, but Mekhi Lemon won the Biletnikoff, which is the best wide receiver award. Arguably could have gone to any one of the Ohio State wide receivers, but didn't. And then I took Jacob Rodriguez at 112. That's a linebacker from Texas Tech. But Jacob Rodriguez finished 5th in Heisman voting as a linebacker. He has a nose for the football. He is a good pass coverage linebacker as well as a guy who can pursue the football. How well that translates from the Big 12 to the NFL, that's not for me to say, I guess. That's for the lab guys. Oscar Delp at 151. That's Georgia's tight end. Georgia's done a pretty good job in years past putting out tight ends. Now, Oscar Delp is not like Travis Kelce sized. He's a little bit smaller of a tight end, but Oscar Delp, scrappy. I mean, Georgia's really good at putting out these scrappy white guy receivers, ball catchers, and Oscar Delp is going to be your next, like, not necessarily Lad McConkey, but when I see him, I'm like, oh, that's Lad McConkey again.
That's tight end Lad McConkey?
Yes, pretty much. And then I finished it off with Keon Sabb, the safety out of Alabama. I'm looking now. I win a lot of SEC, and that's probably good. That's probably the conference you should go.
It means more.
But yeah, it does mean more. They'll actually play their bowl games. 6 picks right now in the draft, and I like all 6 of those. We'll see when we get closer. But that's the first time I'd run a mock draft, and I'm glad I could do it live on the show.
I appreciate you bringing that. I think that's great, and we're going to do this every show for the next 4 months. So go ahead and send your scouting reports to Tucker. You can email him personally at, and I'm not going to, don't do that.
You can put out my work email. You don't have to put out my personal email.
That's fine. I don't know I think I know your work email, and I think I probably know your personal email off the top of my head, but
yeah, Tucker at kcsn.com.
There you go. Send your mock drafts to Tucker at kcsn.com. That's a bit that, well, you know what? That actually could be good because then you can grade mock drafts on KCSN Live, and that's actually going to get you through some dark days, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That might actually have been a good idea that started as a light harassment for your inbox and results in maybe a good bit. And I think that'll do it for us here today. We're gonna come back, and on Friday we will talk a little bit of Chiefs Titans to figure out like what we're looking for and all of that, I'm sure. But will you tease if you want to? Do you want to tease what's coming and tell us when it's happening?
I'm actually hearing about, if you're watching this live, listening to it after the fact, obviously the timing won't really matter. But in about 24 minutes, I'm going to sit down with Aaron Borgman. You guys might know him, former Chiefs athletic trainer. NFL physical therapist and athletic trainer. I think the Eagles. He was in NFL Europe for a while, so he's been around. He knows a lot of this stuff. I'm going to sit down with him for a little bit and kind of get. Really, we're gonna go to the basics. Is what I want to talk with him about. Is the basics of ACL injuries. All right, let's talk about the structure of the knee. Let's talk about like how this all works, what the ACL is. I know us as sports fans hear ACL injuries all the time, MCL injuries. We're like, oh no, that's a big injury. We don't really know what it is. So I'm going to sit down with Aaron Borgman probably for about 10, 15 minutes, and we're going to talk about, I'll have a video up on our YouTube about just like knee injuries, what's going on, what the rehab process looks like, how long we can realistically process about it. Because I think there's a lot of misinformation going on about like knee injuries, ACL injuries. People are like, oh, 2026 is already over. Aaron put out a tweet basically like, no, it's not. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about other knee injuries as well. But yes, thank you for allowing me to talk about that. But Aaron's going to come on, and we'll have that on KCSM podcast feed and also YouTube video as well.
I'm going to check it out, obviously, because I think there is a passing knowledge, like you said, of MCL, ACL, PCL. You're the knee bone connected to the leg bone.
Yep, right.
But I don't know why those mechanisms work the way they do, or why ACL is just such like a definite long recovery the way that it is and all of that. So that will be excellent. Plus, we're going to have what I imagine will be a really fascinating week of Chiefs talk here across KCSN. So appreciate you getting it kicked off with us here on this Monday. Been a sad 24 hours or so, and I really do appreciate everybody choosing to spend some time with us here today in a big, sad moment. So we'll be back with more of this show on Friday. Check out what Tucker's got coming down the line into the podcast feed onto the channel here in just a little while. Plus, the lab, only weird games, all the goodness you expect from KCSN. We're soldiering on even as we begin to shift towards the future more than a month earlier than we have ever done. More than a month earlier than KCSN has ever done.
Yep.
Because KCSN is less old than the AFC Championship game streak was.
That is crazy. Yeah, I'm looking here now. I have a text from Maddie Lane asking about a draft segment for today's lab. So be locked in for that.
Get ready for your big boards, and we'll talk a little more about the dynasty, the rebuild, retool. What should we call it? I'll answer that for you on Friday. Yeah, that's right, folks. That's a radio tease for 4 days from now. Thanks for spending some time with us. Until next time. Bye, Mom. Seamus says this is James Winchester's first non-playoff season?
Yeah, joined the team in 2015, James Winchester did. Wow. I believe that would mean Travis Kelce is the only player on the Chiefs.
I would like for VF's Epic to ask this question during Only Weird Games Tuesday or Thursday. What is a ligament, and does it have any relation to this ligma I've heard so much about?
Yeah.
Ask Seth. Ask Seth to do some research on like a small school wide receiver named like Chad Ligma.
Sugma Ligma.
I was gonna say I think he would catch that, but I don't actually. I actually don't think he'd catch that. Ooh, quick knee jerk, Tucker. Quick question from Steven. With the Chiefs out, who are you rooting for in the AFC? I think I'm abstaining at the moment.
Here we go. Texans.
I'm looking at the standings.
Am I?
Jags?
I was about to say, am I rooting for the Jags?
I kind of wish the Bills. I thought I would be rooting for the Bills. I'm not yet. Maybe that'll change.
I almost said anyone but the Bills, and then I realized that the Broncos were going to be in that. And
I'm not the
Broncos. I'm not rooting for the Broncos.
Here, the show's over. This won't make it to the podcast feed. Tucker, you know my take?
What?
Patrick Mahomes and Bo Nix are still going to win the same number of playoff games this year. God, I hope that's true.
Yeah,
Please don't clip that.
Yeah, I keep getting... I had 10,000 views yesterday, Josh, on the clip of Bo Nix on my Instagram. And Instagram does this really cool thing where you can't mute a post. So So I have to see every single comment that comes in saying how stupid I am for thinking Bo Nix sucks ass.
I'm sorry for writing so many of those.